Hello, and welcome to the Rankin Report for Sunday, January 29th, 2023. From the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28, verses 9 to 14. The Lord will establish you as his holy people, as he promised you on oath, if you keep the commands of the Lord your God and walk in obedience to him. Then all the peoples on earth will see that you are called by the name of the Lord, and they will fear you. The Lord will grant you abundant prosperity in the fruit of your womb, the young of your livestock, and the crops of your ground, in the land he swore to your ancestors to give you. The Lord will open the heavens, the storehouses of his bounty, to send rain on your land in season, and to bless all the work of your hands. You will lend to many nations, but will borrow from none. The Lord will make you the head, not the tail, if you pay careful attention to the commands of the Lord your God that I give you this day, and carefully follow them. You will always be at the top, never at the bottom. Do not turn aside from any of the commands I give you today to the right or to the left, following other gods and serving them. In examining the blessings and curses of God on a nation that is in covenant with him, we have seen that there are different levels of both. The first of these, in terms of blessing, are engaged somewhat automatically as the people of the nation collectively seek to align themselves with the Lord's will and keep his commands. The land itself aligns in a curious kind of synchronization. In other words, the people obey the Lord, the land follows suit, which may explain why that first level of blessings is said in older translations of Scripture, like the Geneva Bible and the King James Version, to pursue and overtake the people, which is what the word used in the Scriptures means in the Hebrew. The second level of blessings is where God purposely acts for the people of the nation. This includes divine protection from one's enemies, including meteorological events, and a special blessing on the land and its crops, enlarging the amounts produced enough to not only benefit others in need, but to give to others in need. The ultimate level of blessings in Scripture establishes the place of the nation in relation to their counterparts. It begins with greater expansions of the first and second levels and the blessings in them, to the point where the nation can broker sales of its products to other countries. In addition to donations of products to needy countries, sales to other countries are increased because of the desire for those goods. Those who understand the principle of tithing understand that as you give to God, the Lord blesses your efforts. Many churches use a offering declaration, saying that as we bring into today's tithes, offerings, and over and above giving, we are believing the Lord for a supernatural increase in all areas of our lives, and goes through a list, everything from jobs to blessings, finding money, etc. But in addition to all that, other nations desire the goods of the covenant nation because the quality of the goods is much better, turns out to be much better than anything else they have found. In ancient Israel, the greatest example of this blessing in operation was that of King Solomon, whose international trade dealings are detailed in 1 Kings chapter 10. Excuse me. Under Solomon, Israel was the world's leading nation, economically and militarily. In addition to the goods that Israel had to sell to other countries, such as chariots and horses, the nation had a fleet of ships with the Phoenicians that that made voyages to other parts of the world, bringing back precious items. And throughout the whole of Solomon's reign, the kingdom was at peace. Since so many countries were trading with Israel under Solomon, nobody was foolish enough to actually go to try to make war against them. Look, you go start fighting these people, you blow the whole deal. Leave them alone. And yet, it could be said that during the reign of Solomon, Israel's chief export was Solomon himself. 1 Kings 4:34 records that the king's wisdom, divinely granted, so impressed others that people from all over the world came to hear him. Even Jesus said the Queen of the South, sometimes referred to as the Queen of Sheba, came from the ends of the earth to hear the wisdom of Solomon. This too was part of the third level of blessings. And because of the wealth that such dealings produced, Israel did, in fact, lend to many nations. There were even scriptures detailing the laws for that elsewhere in Deuteronomy. You can charge interest against other nations, but don't charge interest against your own people, for one. Throughout the late 19th and early 20th centuries, America, which was already enjoying the blessings of her covenant with God, was regarded as an ascendant nation. And after World War I and then later the World War II, she was recognized as a superpower and the world's leader at the end of that time. Her natural resources, industrial capacity, and her location, well beyond the range of fighter bombers of those days, of bomber planes and fighters, enabled America to be a haven for refugees from other nations. Now, this included leading physicists from other countries, most notably Germany and Italy. Pardon me. Now, because of this, and because the Nazi regime in Germany persecuted God's original covenant people, the Jews, America was granted by God the ability to develop the atomic bomb instead of Germany. It was after this that the donations of agricultural products began to other countries, in earnest. And in addition, American technological and organizational knowledge was exported to other countries as volunteers served for 2-year stints with the Peace Corps and similar organizations. U.S. Representative John F. Kennedy of Massachusetts, who later, as president, would sign the executive order establishing the Peace Corps, specifically said that the volunteers would follow the work of religious missionaries in the previous 100 years. He saw that as a follow-up to the work of those spreading the gospel. And finally, even though the tares of selfishness and ungodly influence were beginning to take root during the 1960s, America was granted by God the ability to achieve several landings on the moon instead of the Soviet Union. The atheistic communist regime not only persecuted the Jews, but Christians as well, and some authors believe that if God was going to let anyone pose a sign in the sky for the world to see, it certainly was not going to be the Russians. And yet, long after the triumph, not long, I should say, after the triumph of Apollo 11, a descent seemed to begin for America. Project Apollo ended early, cut by 2 other presidents, and many of the grand plans of the Space Task Group never fully came to fruition. Economic hardships began to be felt, and the nation suffered an outright military defeat for the first time in her history. Political scandals embroiled the country, and a rebellious spirit emerged among the young. Things in this country began to go wrong. Many people noticed this and wondered why. We will look for answers to those questions next week when we begin to examine what God has in store for covenant nations that no longer follow the covenant. No king but Jesus, independence forever. That's the Rankin Report for Sunday, January the 29th, 2023. Thank you for watching. If you like these videos, don't forget to share. God bless you. Have a great day.